I want to give you just 1 minute kind of introduction before I get into this one. My name is Zaid Arida. I am the head of the ASAC school at LTUC. ASAC school is Abdulaziz Al-Ghurair School for Advanced Computing. It's the IT school in our university college. When the idea, same as everyone, same as you, I'm new to the project. I'm new at LTUC. It's my second month. When the idea came around, Shada, my colleague, she's the leading coordinator for this project, asked me to be involved in this project. I said, what would I present in the cultural diversity and interculture in our university? I'm in the ICT sector where programmers usually, it doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak, what color you are, what religion you are. All you have to do is, all my colleague, Doctor is one of my colleagues in Amman. We do not wear suits usually in programmers. We sit in a short and a t-shirt. We sit in the background and we develop. So technically in the ICT sector, it's the sector that has probably the least of all sectors that you talk about cultural diversity. Because regardless, I lived in the US for 10, 15 years, and I lived in Jordan the rest of my life. And in both countries, you do the same. You develop software. So it doesn't matter what you dress or what you color, what your race. But then when I looked into it, when Shada told me the subject that we're going to talk about, to be honest, LTUC, probably my colleagues know about it too, because they're in Jordan. It's probably one of the main players when it's come to what you call upskilling, not the regular programs that happen for Jordanian students. Jordan and Lebanon, perhaps we share with our Lebanese colleagues, one of the countries that saw a lot of refugees coming through because of the issues in the Middle East. And when we talk about intraculture or the cultural diversity, most of the refugees waves that we were like really lucky to have in Jordan and Lebanon, although it took some of the economic, we took economic hit because of that, was from the same race, same culture, same language. So when we talk about diversity, we're not talking about the melting pot that exists in the US when it comes to ethnicities. So culture is a broad term that encompasses beliefs, values, norms, behavior, and overall can be understood. It's our way of being as a start. So how do you define the interculture? I want to go through 2 or 3 slides that really it's flashy, that everybody knows about it in the cultural diversity. Then I want to get to the numbers that we put through our upskilling program at LTUC, and for you to take a look at the diversity we had and what's the result, where we were and where we are at right now. So how do you define the interculturality? It's recognized that there is a large amount of culture that exists. I wouldn't say that as much in Jordan, but still there is a lot of cultures in the meantime. It's how to respect each other's differences. It's acknowledging that all cultural expressions are valid. It's valuing what culture has to bring to the table. It's empowering diverse groups to contribute. It's celebrating differences, not just tolerating them. Back when the Syrian conflict started happening and we started having waves of the Syrian refugees, perhaps like the students in the universities and even us, I'm going to talk about it from both sides. When I went to the US about 2001, 2002, it was around September 11th. So talking about my colleague who just talked about the stereotyping, if you go to the US after September 11, 2001, by definition, you're a terrorist. Doesn't matter where you're from. If you're from the Arabic countries, that's the definition. So no, it happened with me. So I just got in a week before September 11th, going to finish my master's degree. So the questions I always, like, you know, they used to ask me 2 things. Do you still have camels in Jordan? And I always said, no, we don't have camels, although we do, probably in the southern part of Jordan. And the other one is, the questions was always about like the terror attacks. Like, do you guys like, get trained to pilot a plane or something like that. And rightfully so, if you're not educated about the political situation, you just, kind of absorb those comments and move forward. The other thing was moving into education. When I finished my master's and I just worked hard on my coding ability, I was able to progress in the software development part of it. The thing that I used to get always that you come here like the immigrants and you take our jobs. To be honest with you, I did not kind of like think about it much at that point because I figured like, why to answer? I'm moving forward in my career. Then 10, 15 years down the road, I go back to Jordan and I started at LTUC, which we'll see in the numbers in the next 2 or 3 slides. They get the biggest number in upskilling non-Jordanians, whether it's Syrian refugees or Palestinian with no national ID. And the perception, although it's not spoken like publicly for the Jordanian, that we have to close some of the sectors, so it's just for Jordanians. So Syrians came along and took over our jobs. And you as a university, although you get the money to upskill them, but at the end of the day, it's not really the Syrian individual's fault, it's politics. So they come to have another life and you have to upskill him and you have to get him into the economic sectors that you do have. So what you do, you have students that perhaps the stereotyping of they're coming here to take my jobs, they hear it from their parents, from their neighbors, and you gotta just get them into the university. As my colleague Noor will tell you, like, she teaches soft skills. They have to soft skills people, so at least you accept the other person. I know, like, we have an economic hardship, and perhaps, like, the international community did a decent job, but not as good as to pick up economies in Jordan, Lebanon, where it got hit most. But at the end of the day, you gotta deal with the situation. You gotta teach your students to celebrate others, to do a good job in absorbing them in your schools, at the same time to benefit out of their mindset, from their ideas, to create success. So what we did at LTUC, specifically at our school, we have 2 programs.
It's not changing.
It's not changing, yeah.
Here, it changed. Here,
I gotta get the mouse here, right? It's okay.
It might change because it's
changing, yes.
He took over?
Yep.
That's right.
It's okay.
Let me see. Before was not changing. Let's see what's happening. Sure.
That's one. Yeah.
They're free, opened. Okay.
لكن الشيرة جميلة. تيجي الشيرة شتام
I think it's
not changed here.
It's changed now.
It's changed here in the laptop. I think you should switch to that show screen. Yep.
This is yours.
yes, sir.
It's changing.
Yeah. So at my school, the advanced computing, we have 2 programs, as I mentioned. One of them is the regular diploma and bachelor, and the other one what we call upskilling. In the program that has the upskilling, the way that we have the cultural diversity, we have instructors from Barbados Island. We have an instructor from the US. beside some instructors from Iraq and from Jordan in a cultural mix. As for the students, we have students, of course, because of the nature of the program and the donors requirement, we have students from Palestine, from Syria, from Yemen, from Somal. So it's a melting pot, actually, for the students in those programs. What is the importance of interculturality in the curriculum? First thing, deep learning. Beside the fact that the curriculum, perhaps you can include in the soft skills some of the cultural diversity to teach it to the students. When it gets to the projects, we always make sure that the projects, like groups, the extra activity is being broken down so you can add multinational students in that project. Some people would ask why. I would answer based on experience that students coming from different backgrounds, they have. Let me step back, one step back. Any project with IT, it has to do something with the business dimension. If you want to talk about coding or IT in specific, you can be the best coder. If you have not seen the big picture in the business, you're not going to excel. So hence why, as of recently, you would hear about something called agri-tech, which is agriculture. You hear insurance tech, you hear fintech for finance. And that's why the IT started being divided into dimensions. The reason of success for those extra activities in the classroom is everybody coming from specific culture adds something to the business. Business is being run different ways in different countries, and that adds to the experience of the students having ideas. If you take a look, I always say that the biggest transportation company in the world does not own any car. And the biggest company who really rent hotels in the world does not have any hotel, Booking.com. So always ideas comes from the business. Having that, I would say the interculturality, or you have students from different backgrounds, add to the business side of it. Forget about the coding. Coding, it's an effort for the students to excel. But businesses, a lot of our Syrian students, they're good in business, I'll be honest with you. They come from Halab or from Damascus, from families that run business, and they have ideas about having that small application to sell something, do something. That adds to our students from Jordan, like the ideas of business or deep learning for them. Confidence and growth.
But why did you choose the term deep learning? It's related to the...
It's not about machine learning and deep learning. I just meant to say deep learning when it comes to them diving deep into the business. Confidence and growth, our sector, the ICT sector, you teach those students to be an international citizens. I mean, it's not medicine, it's not accounting where it's country related or area related. IT is a worldwide science. Anybody can study coding, they can work from Lebanon or Jordan directly. I'm one of the people that worked outsourcing from Jordan to the US for 5 years, development. So if you do not have that interculturality into your classrooms and into your curriculum inside Jordan, your students, when they graduate, they'll always be limited to work in their country. They're not going to be able to communicate with the people outside. And this is part of the reason why when you have multinational instructors, when you have multinational students in your classroom, you learn a lot from them. Again, another part of it's preparation for the future. They're not going to get shocked when they get to the industry. They get a job offer in Kenya or a job offer in Europe. They'll be able to adapt fast because of that reason. And more empathy. Interacting with people who have diverse background, beliefs, life experiences, and culture promotes empathy. While you can never fully understand someone's life, without being them, you can learn, listen, understand. You might not like it, but you feel empathy. You can cope with that. What's the benefits of embedding intercultural in education? Compassion, as I mentioned, innovation, productivity, new opportunities, problem solving. For the new opportunity part, we have a case for 4 students, 1 Syrian, 3 Jordanians. But when they finish their upskilling class, usually they have a project that they present. We get the organization called Intaj, which they are the IT umbrella in Jordan, to attend some of those, so at least those students can get hired. Some of them, they had an idea about reserving for events, banquet halls and stuff. And that idea was adapted by one of the companies. And to be honest, the idea behind the guy who thought about the idea was the Syrian guy. Although they developed the idea, but it was adapted by a company. I don't know where they got from there. They graduated a month ago. So our employment hub is keep checking with them, but it creates new opportunities. It advances them in the world when they work together. So this is some of the highlights for LTUC and interculturality. Make sure that all students interact regardless of their culture via team building activities. We make sure that we include the open-minded and I let go of a judgment in our foundation classes. Encourage speaking out against culture and sensitivity. I don't mean it's 1,000% applied, but at least we try. Support the ideas that differences are beneficial and they're not harmful to student projects. Advocate to hire people or work with them or not within your say. And it's not about just taking students because of the donors' criteria of upskilling people, even in the hiring part. My colleagues, they know that my school have almost 3 or 4 backgrounds in the same school, whether in the short courses or in the Pearson BTech system. Teach new languages. We teach English as a standard, and there's an idea to start teaching French, at least in the ASAC school, because of our collaboration with the French companies, with the French universities. We deal with 2 programs. Code Phyllis, it's an academy in Seattle that relates to coding. We have 2 of their instructors from Barbados and from the US that they're teaching in our school. And at the same time, we have a deal with them. If some of our instructors pass a specific exam, they can be nominated to be teaching in different countries. At the same time, we have the BTech, the British Pearson system. Again, we have some of our colleagues that are responsible for the program that they went to England, and we're trying to apply that system in our school. Last slide, I wanted just to show some of the programs that was ran together in our school based on the numbers. So scholarships that was from Queen Rania Foundation and Al Ghurair Foundation, they wanted to do 25 Jordanians. Around the same time, we ran 20 Syrians for Al Ghurair Foundation with UNICEF. And we had to push the 105, 3 programs in the same classes. We divided them into 4 classes. And 2 of them were Java, 1 was JavaScript and 1 Python. And they were divided, as I mentioned before, due to policies that applied by the government. The ICT sector is a closed sector in Jordan. You cannot hire except Jordanian people. So what we do with the Syrians, imagine after the students spend the 6 months with their Syrian colleagues, they start getting them gigs, outsourcing. So if they're in a company that need a work for 6 months or 3 months, they would refer to their friend that was in the school with them in the same group to get the freelancing gig. And that happened because of the interactions. This is the active scholarship. Now we're on a bigger scale. Between the Ghurair and the AFD, we have 50 Syrians and 80 Palestinians. When I say 80 Palestinians, I mean Palestinians with no national ID number. This is one project. The other one is from GIZ, the German committee. They have 500 Jordanian and 150 Syrians. And the Ministry of Labor, they supported train 1,000 Jordanian people. Those 3 projects, they have to run in a year and a half, and they are mixed together. So they have to work together. As I mentioned before, it's not the US where you have like 15, 20 backgrounds, but those guys working together will create that intercultural in our school. And I'm sure that they'll excel and they help each other to find jobs. So that is it for me. If anybody have any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you. No, let's say from your presentation, it's really, you can see that this issue is contextualized, no? It's really contextualized in the situation because of the Syrian situation and that you are facing. And you are, let's say somehow you went out from the higher education, no? he went to the business.
Right.
So you teach students, and this is often happening in the ICT now. You teach students for the productivity,
Right.
for the business, for the country development, and so on, to be self-independent. And it's very nice. It's very nice example.
Thank you. When I started this conversation, I really tried to not to pull the political dimension into the education, but unfortunately for the culture diverse, you have to talk about the cause of having this, many refugees in Jordan. And to be honest with you, it's not just Jordan or the Jordanian government or His Majesty the King. We have to go out of our way to help, but it's a human thing. Like you have 700,000 Syrians that came into the country. A lot of them, they're underage, probably Lebanon have the same thing, although it put pressure on the economy. But my colleagues from Philadelphia University were discussing that the US pre-COVID-19, they announced that 2024, they have 1 million coding job available. I think post-COVID-19, that's gonna triple. That's with the existence of Estonia, India, Romania, the countries that really have huge outsourcing power. So what we do is we try to take that opportunity to help the multi-background, whether in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Palestine, whatever, specifically in that track. If we're talking about accounting, I can tell you, we're not going to do miracles. I cannot take accountants from Syria or Jordan and tell them, you go work in the US unless they have CPA. But in the IT, if you really can prepare that pool of resources, it's unfortunate that a lot of countries now they're going to, for instance, in Jordan, these sectors are closed for Jordanians, same in Saudi Arabia, same in Emirates, same in Bahrain. They're closing some sectors only for their nationals, which makes it harder for the other nationality to work in it. But yeah, in Jordan, I can give you names of some of the Syrian students that we really got into the outsourcing. You can find the workarounds, and it's not me, it's not LTUC, it was their co-students in the same class, Jordanians, that they work with them, and they really wanted to help them. So any questions about a gig for, I got one of the designers, Syrian guy, to design our website. I told him it's a gig, it's a outsourcing. I'll pay this much money, and he took it. You try to help,
Yeah. Let's say this issue. For example, Latifa, now from Morocco, she was speaking about the this international credit mobility, and so on, from the perspective of the NEO, of the Erasmus Plus system, and so on. But let's say if you are reading the benefits or the impact of the mobility, Erasmus mobility, is the network,
right?
Not the credits that they are bringing with the transcript of records to the country and the recognition process, okay? But it's the network that they are building. They are building between different countries for the job opportunities, right, and so on. Yes.
Right.
And again, it's the network for the family and for the kids. I remember a few years ago was the kids, the result of I don't know how many hundreds of mobility. It's 1 million international childs, okay, which was born in the Erasmus mobility.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is really the interculturalism that is it's growing up with this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.